গিরিবরধারী জয় গোপী জনবল্লভ গিরিবরধারী যশোদানন্দন ব্রজজনরঞ্জন যশোদানন্দন ব্রজজনরঞ্জন যমুনা তীর বনচারী যমুনা তীর বনচারী জয় রাধা মাধব জয় কুঞ্জ বিহারী হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে 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 রাম 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 হরে 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 কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে 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 রাম 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 হরে 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 কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে 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 রাম 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 হরে হরে জয় রাধা গিরিধারী রাধে জয় জগন্নাথ জয় বলদেব জয় সুভদ্রা জয় গৌরনিতাই জয় গৌরনিতাই জয় প্রভুপাদ জয় প্রভুপাদ নিতাই গৌর হরি বল নিতাই গৌর হরি বল Hare Krishna, everybody. So today we'll first read from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, and after that we'll recite and discuss one slok from Srimad Bhagavatam. So to read the Prabhupada Lilamrita, I'm sharing the screen. Just allow me a couple of seconds. So we are reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, the first volume, and chapter 32, and the name of the chapter is India, White Dancing Elephant. Although Prabhupada was happy to see the number of ISKCON's life members increasing, that his shipment of books from Dai Nippon had not yet arrived made him anxious. The devotees were promising life members books, but where were these books? Every day the problem became more and more pronounced. Prabhupada learned of a Calcutta post tribe. His books had apparently arrived, but the ship, unable to unload cargo in Calcutta, had left port. He worried that the ship would unload the books in some other Indian port. The exact whereabouts and condition of the books, however, remained unknown. Prabhupada was greatly concerned. He decided to send a competent disciple, Tamal Krishna, to Calcutta to try and retrieve the books. Meanwhile, he would continue preaching depending on Krishna. Amritsar, October 21st, 1970. Accompanied by a group of disciples, 7 men and 2 women, Prabhupada began the 2-day train ride from Bombay to Amritsar. Years ago, Prabhupada had traveled as a preacher in India alone, riding the trains to Jhansi, Delhi, Kanpur, Calcutta, and Bombay to publish Back to Godhead and solicit support. After only 5 years in the West, he now had the great advantage of sincere disciples, and now the Indians were taking notice. Hare Krishna. So I'm stopping here. So, Hare Krishna, everybody today. So today we'll read from Srimad Bhagavatam, and it is Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 5, Canto 5, chapter 11, and verse 6. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Srinatam Shapata Krishna Punna Sravana Kirtana Hridiyantosto Hi Abhadrani Vidhunoti Shurit Shatam Nashta Praesho Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistiki. So we'll be reading from Canto 5, chapter 11, verse 6. And the heading of this canto is Creative Impetus. And the heading of this chapter, Jara Bharat instructs King Rahuguna, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. So I'm sharing the screen now. Is the screen visible for everybody?
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
Hare Krishna. So it is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, chapter 11, verse 6. Dukham sukham vatiriktam chatibhram kalopapannam phalamapyanakti alingamaya ruchitantaratma swadehinam samskriti chakrakutaha. Dukham sukham vatiriktam chatibhram kalopapannam phalamapyanakti alingamaya ruchitantaratma swadehinam samskriti chakrakutaha. Dukham sukham vatiriktam chatibram kalopapannam phalamapyanakti alingamaya ruchitantaratma swadhinam samskriti chakrakutaha. Hare Krishna devotees, any of the devotees wants to recite, please, you can do it now.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dukham Shukam Vatiriktam Chatibram Kalotpannanam Phalam Avayanakti Alingaya Maya Rachita Atmara Antaratma Shadehinam Samshriti Chakrakutaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dukham sukham vatiriktam chatibram kalopapanyam phalamabhyanakti alingyamaya ruchitantaratma swadehinam samsriti chakrakutaha. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. I am also trying.
Hare Krishna Madhuri. Yes, please continue Madhuri.
Dukhang sukhang vatiriktam chatibram kalopapannam phalam abanakti alingamaya ruchitantaratma sadehinam sanskriti chakrakutaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Madhuri, thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Madhuri, Dandavat Pranam, please continue.
Dukham sukham vyatiriktam chavitivram kalopapannam phalam abhyanakti alingaya maya rachitanta taratma swadehinam samshriti chakrakutaha. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Madhuri, thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhamma Pranam. I will try.
Prabhuji, please, yes, please, Prabhu, please continue.
Dukkam sukham vatrikatam chativram kalopananam phalam avyanati alingya maya rachitatma antaratma swadhinam samstriti chakrakutah. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So if there is nobody else, we can go to the synonyms. Can any of the devotees please read the synonyms, please?
Yes, Prabhu, I can read.
Yes, Mataji, please.
Dukham, unhappiness due to impious activities. Sukham, happiness due to pious activities. tam, illusion, cha also, tibram, very severe, kala upapannam, obtained in the course of time, phalam, the resultant action, abhyanti, creates, alinga, embracing, maya rachita, created by material nature, anta atma, the mind, shadehinam, the living being himself, samsriti, of the actions and reactions of material existence, chakra kutaha, which deceives the living entity into the wheel. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Motherji. Hare Krishna. So anyone else wants to read the translation, please?
May I, Prabhuji, please?
Yes, please, Motherji.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The materialistic mind covering the living entity's soul carries it to different species of life. This is called continued material existence. Due to the mind, the living entity suffers or enjoys material distress and happiness. Being thus illusioned, the mind further creates pious and impious activities and their karma, and thus the soul becomes conditioned. Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Motherji. Hare Krishna. And anybody wants to read the purport, please?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, I'll read it.
Yes, Prabhu.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada PJ. Mental activities under the influence of material nature causes happiness and distress within the material world. Being covered by illusion, the living entity eternally continues conditioned life under different designation. Such living entities are known as Nitya Baddha, eternally conditioned. On the whole, the mind is cause of conditioned life. Therefore, the entire yogic process is meant to control the mind and the senses. If the mind is controlled, the senses are automatically controlled, and therefore the soul is saved from the reaction of pious and impious activities. If the mind is engaged at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, Sai Vayamana Krishna Pada, the senses are automatically engaged in the Lord's service. When the mind and senses are engaged in devotional service, the living entity naturally becomes Krishna conscious. As soon as one always thinks of Krishna, he becomes a perfect yogi. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Yoginam api sarvesham mada gana antaratmana. This atma, the mind, is conditioned by the material nature. As stated here, Maya Rachit Antaratma Swadhinam Samskrita Chakrakuta. The mind, being most powerful, covers the living entity and puts him in the waves of material existence. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu, for reading that. Om Ajnanotimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jana Tasmai Sri Guruve Namo Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sapitam Jana Bhutale Shayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Shapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yudapada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavangsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Shahagana Raghunathan Nitam Tam Sajivam Swadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Shaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Shahagana Lolita Sri Vishakam Nitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Prabhupadanugami Sri Shiva Goswamini Sada Danyashili Shivakaya Sarva Jiva Pripabde Guru Shiksha Sadachara Palokaya Namastute Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshotarini Namo Mahavadannaya Krishna Primo Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Nama Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayati Dirim Jatkija Tamaham Bande Paramananda Madhavam Sri Guru Pudinataram. Hare Krishna, welcome to you all the devotees here in this morning's class of Srimad Bhagavatam. Although I am not qualified, but still I am doing this service as I have been instructed to undertake this service, and it also gives me an opportunity to purify myself. So I thank you all, the devotees here, and beg for your mercy to please bless me so that I can contribute something positive in the mission of Srila Prabhupada and my Guru Maharaj for preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to glorify properly Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, going past a bit on this topic, in this chapter also, we are also going through the journey of the soul of former Bharat Maharaj. From the body of Bharat Maharaj, he became Dear Bharat, and then Jaro Bharat, and now he is speaking as Brahman Jaro Bharat. So we have seen that as Jaro Bharat, he has tolerated patiently all adverse situation that he came across without any envy to anyone. He was also he has also given a very patient hearing to earlier to what King Raghuna had told him, various things, of course. And at the same time, at the present moment, he is hearing, he has started speaking to King Raghuna earlier, he has told, and given reply to all some of the things, his opinion to King Raghuna. And now he is instructing King Raghuna at the request of King Raghuna. Because Raghuna has now realized that Jaro Bharat is an Uttama Adhikari, or a Brahmabhuta conditioned living being. So he has decided to take his instruction from him. And one thing, if we look very carefully, it is very clear that up till now, whatever Jaro Bharat is speaking, he is speaking from a transcendental platform. And he is completely free from material consideration. And he had no grudge to whatsoever King Raghuna told him earlier. And as a very advanced devotee, he is speaking out of his compassion for a living being. And in this case, the person is King Raghuna. And as a king, he is holding a very high position, very position of authority. And he is also very materially advanced, very affluent. Materially advanced means materially affluent. But what he is lacking, sorry, he is lacking spiritual knowledge. And one of the qualities of a very advanced devotee is that he is a realized person in transcendental knowledge, and as such, he knows clearly the root cause of the real problem of a material person. He knows that a material person is an illusion and do not know about the real Swarupa, as their part and parcel of Krishna, and Krishna is their eternal master and he is the eternal servant. And this is the root cause of the problem in this human form of life for most of the people. Being part and parcel and the separate part of Supreme Lord, a living being, any human being, has got a very small fraction of superior energy of Krishna, because Atma is same quality as the Lord. But this being so small, it is subject to contamination in material condition. And although this spark or the living consciousness allows him to dominate over the material things, but he is not free really, and he is dependent on the Lord. Some people really think that under the impression of Maya that they are free and they are free to act, but it is not the case. Being a servant of this Lord Krishna is subjected to control by that superior force, superior order or super force, we can say that. And the superior energy forgets that is superior energy of the body, that means the soul, the living entity, forgets the real spiritual mind and spiritual intelligence. And this forgetfulness, as I've told, is due to the influence of matter on the living body, because material condition overpowers the soul, and that's why they remain in illusion. And another thing is that the living soul is also under the control of the superior authority of the Supreme Lord. So this is the real knowledge that we should surrender to the Supreme Lord, and that is the way we should perform our duty as a human, and that is the activity of a human being, real activity. So at the outset, when we are doing our devotional service, we should endeavor to acquire this fundamental or the basic knowledge, or this basic knowledge or the understanding our relation with the Lord, that is called Sambandha Gyan by our acharyas. And the Sambandha Gyan means the Krishna is our only master, and we should fully surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna, and nothing else in this world other than that can make us happy. Any effort, any endeavor that we do, or over endeavor we do, or we think someone else will do for us, will not make us happy. This is a very fundamental knowledge that a devotee should understand, that in this material world he cannot be happy by his or others' effort, and only by surrender to the Krishna he can be happy, because when we associate with the Lord can make us happy. And also this present situation in which we are living is a temporary situation, and by doing this only we can go back to Godhead. And this of course one may say that we will not do, because we have this body, we have to maintain this body, and we have maintained for a healthy life and self-preservation, and so that we can make inquiry about the Lord Krishna. And that faith is once we have that faith and we do our devotional service, then we have no confusion about our goal and about our process of devotional service, and we can protect our Bhakti Lata Bij, and in this way we can advance in our devotional service. And Bhakti Vinod Thakur has, in the previous verse, I think he has told, in the previous verse also in the Bhagavad, he was telling about, he has described the condition of a living being. Of course, it is in Bengali, so I'm reading it out, and then I will try to make it explain in English. মায়ার বসে যাচ্ছ ভেসে খাচ্ছ হাবুডুবু ভাই, জীব কৃষ্ণ দাস এই বিশ্বাস করলে তো আর দুঃখ নাই। মায়ার বসে যাচ্ছ ভেসে খাচ্ছ হাবুডুবু। My dear brother, the spirit soul is completely under the control of Maya, and you are being carried away by its wave. That means you are uncontrolled way, you are being influenced by Maya. So what is the solution? Please therefore accept yourself as the servant of Krishna. জীব কৃষ্ণ দাস এই বিশ্বাস করলে তো আর দুঃখ নাই। Then you will be freed from the miseries. And in fact, the Brahman Jarabharat is trying to give this knowledge to because he is Uttamadhikari, giving this to King Rahuguna. And in fact, we should always aspire to have the association of such a Uttamadhikari or a first-class devotee, as Prabhupada is sometimes told. In Upadeshamrita, Srila Rupa Goswami, I think it is verse 5, he has told that how we should deal with different devotees. And the verse, I'm just reading the first verse, and then they're trying to explain that. Krishnedi Jasya Virit Ammonosadriyet means this is talking of a Kanishta Bhakta, or the very beginner. That means when we should see someone is chanting the holy name, he's a Kanishta Bhakta, we should mentally honor him. But in the second stage, Madhyama Bhakti, he is telling, Dikshasti Chet Pranativischaiva Bhajantamisham Shusrushaya. Means one who has taken Diksha and is sincerely doing his devotional service, we should pay our obeisances unto him. That is Madhyama Bhakti. And third one, that is Uttama Bhakti, is telling Bhajana Vigyam Anannam Anno Nindadishunnaridam Ipshita Sangalabdha. One, and it is a feature of a Uttama Adhikari. He is telling that one should associate it. He is engaged in worshipping the deity, and he is as faithfully serving them without any his devotional service undeviated, and his heart is completely devoid of propensity to criticize others. So this is the feature, the same feature we found in Jara Bharat, that he has no hatred for anybody, and he has never blamed anybody for his situation, and he doesn't want to criticize anyone. And in fact, he is not interested in blaspheming, also criticizing others. And his heart is completely clean, and he has attained the realized state of unalloyed Krishna consciousness. And according to Jiva Goswami, as we are trying to tell, that we should take the association and service of such a great Mahabhagavad, and he's a perfect Vaishnava. And King Rahuguna knows this, that he has to take association from such a person. So he has decided to surrender to Jara Bharat and is interested to hear from him. And once he has surrendered, he is trying to listen from Jara Bharat his instruction in this regard. Instruction about transcendental knowledge. And earlier we have seen, I think in the first verse of this chapter, we have seen that the Jara Bharat was telling to the king that you are not very experienced. You pose yourself as a learned person because you are very proud of your knowledge. And Okubido bod badhan. Okubido means who is not learned person or experienced person. And Kobido means who is a learned and experienced person. And you are talking like a learned and experienced person, but you are not like that. So, but here, what one may think that he is criticizing. No, he is not criticizing. What he is trying to tell to King Rahuguna about his lack of transcendental knowledge, not the material knowledge. As a king, Rahuguna is surely experienced and knowledgeable person in material knowledge. There is no doubt about that. The King Rahuguna is the bodily conception of life and is influenced by the mode of passion and ignorance, as is natural for any material person. The King Rahuguna didn't know about the position and character of Jara Bharat initially as an advanced devotee. So Jara Bharat, being a Mahabhagavad, he is always situated in transcendental platform, or in other words, a Jivan Mukta stage. And what is his other condition? His condition is that he has learned from his mistake in the past life, and he is now fixed in his devotional service to the Lord. And he carries the form of the Lord within his heart always. And being free from bodily conception, he is also a dear friend, as is told as that he is a dear friend of all the living entities. So out of his compassion, he is telling the king. Even though he was previously carrying the palanquin and other activities while in material there, but he is always situated in Krishna consciousness. And his position, his Jivan Mukta means that he is not associating, although he is doing his activities, he is completely free from attachment of what is being done in the material, what is happening in the material level. That is the character of a pure devotee. And Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu has told that anyone who by his action, mind, words, lives only for transcendental loving service of the Lord is certainly a liberated soul. And even though he may appear to be in a condition or material existence. And the verse is like that. Iha jasya hare dashe paramuna manasha gila nikila sho avastatu jivan mukto sha uchyate. And he knows the fruitive activities, that material person always do, or we have to do, are cause of material bondage. And as long as one is engaged in activities aimed at improving the standard of bodily comfort, and one is sure to transmigrate, because we know that the more we are involved in material activities, the more we do more activities, we are involving ourselves we are getting attached to the material things. And that is the situation of a living being, and that's why they are called Nityabodha. As Prabhupada has mentioned that Nityabodha, they are bonded perpetually by their work. But what we have to learn from? We have to learn from the Mahatmas. Mahatmanastu Partho Doivin Prokriti Masrita Bhajanti Ananya Manasho Gatta Bhutadi Mapa. So we have to follow the pure Mahatmas or the pure devotees of the Lord who are not like us. And Jorobharot is one of such devotees. He doesn't bother about the social condition, because the social condition, he's talking to a king. So he's not even bothered now. Although he is king, but in a material condition, people normally value the social condition. But Jorobharot is not concerned, because he knows the social behavior that is followed is nothing but karmakanda activity. So he is not associating himself with these bindings, or he is not being binded by this condition, because he is very spiritually advanced and he is trying to help a person. He knows he is trying to help a person who is suffering in this material condition. And now, how in a material condition, how we do our activities, I'm trying to say a few words on that. Normally, the material condition, as you have termed Shukham Dukham, that is being told, this Shukh and Dukh are really coming from the sense enjoyment. And in verse 214 of Bhagavad Gita, Matra Sparshas Dukha, it is telling that when the senses come in contact with sense objects, when it is favorable to us, we feel happiness. When it is against us, against our senses, then we feel miseries. And the very example is heat and cold, and happiness and distress. In this way it comes. Heat, as such, neither heat nor cold is good or bad, but again it is both good and bad, in the sense that when we put our senses, suppose it is now at the moment cold, it is in New Zealand, we are experiencing cold. So when it is warm condition, we feel very happy, because it gives our senses happiness. Because in a warm condition, we feel the warm situation is giving us happiness. So that's why that is called happiness. But when again the summer comes when a heavy and the scorching rays of the sun comes and that is too hot, then we look for cold. So we look, if we carefully look, we see that neither heat nor cold is good or bad, and both are required. But the senses are at different situation, are thinking that this is happiness, this is miseries. So these are mostly coming from senses coming with sense objects, giving us happiness and distress. And in bodily condition, these senses in the body are the conscious part of the body, and they have got a ladder of hierarchy of ladders, in the sense in 342 it is very clearly written that Indiani in the body, Indiani Porani Rahu, Indiani Porani Ahur, Indriya Parangono, Monoshastu Parabuddhi, Buddhi Portostu Sham. Indriya, in the body, material body or dull matter, the senses are a conscious part of, and that's why it is superior. And similarly, above the senses is the mind, and above the mind is the intelligence, and above the intelligence is the soul. So in our Krishna consciousness movement, we try to control the soul, because just as with a higher authority you can control a lower things, in a similar way, when we are able to control the soul, we are able to control our intelligence, we are able to control our mind, we are able to control our senses. So that's why we give much importance to control the soul directly, unlike the yogis who tries to control the senses. And the other thing is that another difference is that when we are doing our devotional service, we try to control our senses and mind by engage them for the service of the Lord. And instead of the yogis, they try to control by taking away from the sense object. It is pretty difficult in the sense that because in the natural way, the senses are attracted to sense objects. but they try to forcefully taking away from the senses, sense objects, and try to control that way. So we'll discuss it later also, how each one is acting. Now, as we have told that of the senses above, from the lower part of the mind is above the senses. So how to control the senses? By controlling the mind. In material consciousness, in fact, the mind is very, very important, and unless all it forces us, all our activities. If we look around the what do you say, the origin of our endeavor to do anything is the mind, and material conscious, and the mind controls the senses, and it directs us to do our activities based on the three modes of material nature we are placed in our body. So material consciousness, or the mental consciousness, mental consciousness, how the mind acts are very important. And in Amrita Bindu Upanishad, there is a famous verse, it is called Mono evo manushyanam karanam bandho mokshayo bandhayo vishay sango muktoi nirbishayam mano. Means for a man, the cause of bondage and the mind is the cause of liberation. Is the cause of liberation. So it is both bondage and it is a cause of liberation. When mind absorbed in sense objects, bandhaya vishaya sango, when it is with sense objects, it is the cause of bondage. And mind, when it is detached from the sense object, it is the cause of liberation. So we understand the importance of the mind in that. In a similar way, so we need to control the mind. That's why we are going by another example. I mean, almost the same content. Another verse is given in Bhagavad Gita 6.5. It is there. Uddharet atmanatmanam natmanam avashadvet atmai bhai atmano bandhu atmai bhai ripur atmano. It is 6.5. It is there. The one must deliver, in the translation Prabhupada has made that, one must deliver himself with the help of mind and not degrade himself. The mind is a friend of conditioned soul and his enemy as well. Now here so many Atma, Atmanam. Atma has got, Atma has got three meaning, in fact, depending on the situation, to the context. Atma means sometimes body, Atma means sometimes the mind, and Atma sometimes is soul. So here it is telling that because the mind, our soul, the soul has fallen within the body, and it has to be delivered by the mind. So we should not allow the soul to degrade, because we have in this human form of life, this soul has fallen into the whale of samsara. In the samsara, we have fallen by attachment to the sense objects, and we should endeavor that we can deliver the soul. And how we can do that? We can deliver the soul, the Atmanam, by the mind. And that mind, because Atma is devoid of material thing, but because of attachment with the material things, it has been degraded. So we have to put the Atma in a pure consciousness, through the help of mind. And when we attach our thing, as it's saying, when we are trying to elevate our soul by our mind, we should engage our mind in such a way that it can elevate. That is, and because if we cannot deliver it, so the soul remains perpetually in continuation in material existence, and it remains, in one sense, you can say, the cycle of birth and death continues. And then the next verse also, the mind is a friend and enemy. It is again telling Bandhur Atma Atmanos. It is in verse 6.6. Bandhur Atma Atmanos Dosho Janatma Iva Atmanajito Anatmanos Doshot Putre Vortet Atma Iva Shotru. And who has conquered his mind? His mind is the best friend. So, but for one who has failed to do so, mind remains his greatest enemy. So we should, to make the soul our friend, we have to control our mind. That is these two verses stating. And the purpose in a yogic system, in the yoga system, the people, all the yogis tries to control their mind. But as there is a fundamental difference. Of course, for the devotees also, we need to control our mind. There is no doubt about the importance of mind is very, very important to control in our devotional service as well. Unless the mind is controlled, we cannot do our devotional service properly. So we have to we have to control our mind by any way, by the method prescribed by our acharyas, and it is different from the yogis. The yogis try to control by taking it away from the sense object, but we engage them for the service of the Lord. With the service of the Lord, unless we utilize it for the service of the Lord, it will always have a tendency by natural way, because under the three modes of material nature, it will always divert towards material for sense enjoyment. That is the default situation. Unless we engage them in the service of the Lord, and gradually, when we have a better taste or higher taste, only by higher taste, giving a higher taste, we can control our mind, and not by forcefully taking away. Because once we take it away forcefully, it is possible for that moment we can do that, but it will again be attracted towards the sense object, because the natural tendency in a material condition and the modes of material nature, that is the natural situation, and it will go in that way only. But if we give them in a higher taste, and as Prabhupada has, as we see also in our devotional service, that first we give those, by taking prasadam gradually, the mind gets attracted toward the Lord. And the more and more we purify ourselves, the more and more we'll move towards the Lord. And that will detach ourselves from material things. And it is, there is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, I think it is, Bhakti Parashanubhav Virakti Rannotra Choishotriko Eko Kaloho Prapotta Manuscha Jatha Shos Tushti Pushti Khudapayo Anubhasham. That means just as the feature of bhakti is that it takes away from, it takes for its material sense, it takes away from material sense enjoyment, and when it is attracted, body is attracted toward the Lord, it automatically takes away. And how it is, and this happiness one can realize very easily, just as a person who is hungry, when he takes his food, every piece of things he put in the mouth, he can think that he can realize that it is giving him taste, he's enjoying the taste, and he's also getting the energy as well. In a similar way, when we do our bhakti, we are gradually attracted towards the Lord, and our attachment to the material things gradually diminishes. So this is the way of increasing our bhakti, and this bhakti gradually takes it away from sense object, and our mind is attracted toward the Lord. When we always serve the Lord, and there is no opportunity for the mind to come down to a lower taste of material sense enjoyment, and it is the way by which we can make ourselves we progress in devotional service and make the mind controlled. And another thing in this regard, of course, we have not discussed this one, because mind is in the material platform, this happiness and goodness, this happiness and distress that we have told in a material condition, that is really the mental platform. It is not the transcendental situation. And Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a verb where it says that Doite Bhadra Bhadra Gyan Shab Monodharmo Ei Bhalo Ei Mondo Ei Shab Brahmo. And in material world, conception of good and bad is just a sense, it is a matter of sense, it is a mental speculation. And saying that this is good, this is bad, is all mistake, because it depends on the mental condition of the person, and it is not from the transcendent. It is not free from contamination of, because mind is a product of the material shuttle body. I mean, product of the shuttle body, and the three modes of material nature acts on the mind, and accordingly, some people say this is good, this is bad. But when we try to, and our devotional service takes us away from sense enjoyment in a systematic way, but in a default situation, that means default means by the natural way, the sense is attracted towards sense object. So by devotional service, when we do it, it gradually purifies us, and we move from we can overcome the modes of material nature. In Bhagavad Gita, I think in 14:26, there is a verse. Arjuna has asked Sri Krishna how we can transcend the mode of material nature, and Lord Sri Krishna is told that by attachment, by devotional service only, you can overcome the modes of material nature. Vicharan bhakti yogena sevote sagunan soniti taitan brahma bhoya kalpate. But only by when we are unfailingly attached to the Lord, we can overcome the modes of material nature, and in this way we can make ourselves beyond the modes of material nature and transcendent the modes of material nature. And in fact, when we do our devotional service, I'll not take much time, and I will conclude by telling that when we are doing devotional service, the mind is taken away from material sense objects. And that is why you will see when the non-devotees, I mean those who are not devotees, and because it takes away the mind from the material sense object, and sense enjoyment is the default situation in a material condition. The common people, when you are talking about the devotional service, Lord and the Krishna's pastimes and other things are being discussed, they don't feel interested much, because they are in the mode of material nature, and the mind takes away from material sense object, but they are so much attached to sense object, they feel a sort of, their mind, when we talk of Krishna Katha, their mind moves here and there, and they cannot concentrate their mind because they didn't have the higher taste, and so they remain in a lower level, and in this way they remain attached life after life. But when we do our devotional service, gradually our attachment to material things ceases, and we become free from the three modes of material nature. And that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I mean, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's a verse which says, Jive Swarupa Krishna Nityadas, Krishna Tatastha Shakti Veda Ved Prakash. So in our condition, being a Tatastha Shakti, we have a tendency, I mean, we are sitting in the wall of the two. In one side, the material world, and the other side, the spiritual world. Becoming a part of the spirit soul, we have got this option. Whether we'll be, as a spirit soul, we have a tendency to elevate ourselves and become free from the material contamination. So it is our choice to decide how we can, which side we'll keep ourselves. And the devotees, by our devotional service, we associate with Krishna and the devotees and his devotees, and in this way gradually purify ourselves. And from that, and by the process, by the process of purification, which was from sense enjoyment, we become attached to the Lord, and in this way we transcend the material material contamination, and by the base by the blessing of other devotees and devotees of the Lord, and by the blessings of the Lord, we can transcend the material modes of vision. And one of the mind takes us one thing. I will conclude by saying that when the mind, so the test for a devotee, to control the mind is that the test is that when the mind is being taken away from the Lord, and we have to consider it as our enemy. As we have told, what is enemy and what is friend. For a devotee, mind that takes away from the Lord is to be considered an enemy. And whenever anything that takes us away from the Lord, we should immediately think that my mind has become my enemy. I have to rectify it, immediately stop it. And similarly, anything that is taking us near to the Lord, and that mind is our friend. And we have to endeavor for that. And in this way, always keeping us in check or testing ourselves that how the mind, where the mind lies, we can control our mind, and always engage in devotional service and check ourselves whether the mind is going away from the Lord or going towards the Lord. In this way, we can, by associating with the devotees, when we check it, that is the right path for bhakti or devotional service, and we can protect the Bhakti Lata bridge that has been given that we are trying to protect in our devotional path. So the body is important. The body is very important for protecting, for doing our devotional service. So we should protect the body, but for the maintenance, but not for sense enjoyment. And when we can do that, that is the goal of human life. And in this way, that is Jarabharot is also trying to tell Rahuguna that the purpose of we have to rise above the material contamination and go to the and go back to for going back to Godhead. We have to purify ourselves and go back to Godhead by associating with pure devotees who gives us the knowledge how we can transcend the mode of material nature. And here Jarabharot is displaying this knowledge to King Rahuguna, and we should follow and from this lesson we should try to take lesson from this and apply it in our life, so that we can also free ourselves from this continuous cycle of birth and death. And Prabhupada has created a ISKCON society where there's so many people, devotees are there. So we have the great opportunity to associate with such elevated devotees, and from hearing from them and applying it in our own life, we can make our life a success and make sure that we do not deviate and can go back to Godhead. We go back to Godhead, which is the ultimate goal of life. And Prabhupada has given his life for that, and we should not make him. We should not waste this opportunity what he has given us, and we have received it from him. So it would be a great tribute to him as well. Hare Krishna. With that, I am concluding. Hare Krishna. If anybody has anything to say or any comments or any mistake that might have committed, please, you can.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandat Pranam.
Hare
What
Krishna,
a nice description and clarification of the text number 6, explaining so nicely the steps, how to understand the mind, its activities, and how to control it from different angles, by explaining the examples of King Bharat and King Rahuguna and Jadavara, the source of anxiety we feel in each and every day of our life, how it can be controlled in a nice way, and that you explained very nicely. The more important part as Atma, as you mentioned, Atma has 3 meanings: mind, body, mind, and soul, and how these three things at different stages means differently. And that also comes in conjunction with this explanation of the activities of mind is
Yes.
so important. The real picture, as I understood, this mind is simple uh, part of our body which is activated in two different ways, just like a two-way switch. As we have already studied about the Tatastha Shakti.
Yeah.
Tatastha Shakti is the marginal energy of the Lord. So, being a living entity, we are at that stage. Now it is our part in this life or before or in the next life to understand which way you have to move. Move like a two-way switch is fitted at the downstairs, and if you want to go upstairs,
Mm.
so you just switch it on. So if you switch it on down, it remains in the uh, first floor or the bottom floor. And when you switch it up, it goes on the second floor. That means o- as we are in living entity, we always remain in this stage of material anxiety or material condition, which gives us pleasure and sorrow. But if we switch on that on the upper platform, which is our uh, Antaranga Shakti of the Lord.
Yeah.
That means if we are connected to the Vairanga Shakti of the Lord, which is controlled by the three modes of material nature, and God Himself controls all these energies. So we remain always in pleasure and displeasure. But if we connect it to the Antaranga Shakti of the Lord, because Lord is Satchit Ananda,
Yeah.
so we gradually step up those stages from Sat to Chit and then Ananda. That Ananda flows into our mind and we become very, very pleasurable. So this is how the mind is connecting as a two-way switch as we see in our daily life. So how we can do that? That you nicely mentioned that since mind is very, very chanchal, only by the suitable practice and detachment we can control the mind. And that comes from text 1.27 Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prajita Janate Shri Bhairagam
Ashok.
Jnanam Cha Yat Ahitu.
Ahitukum.
By rendering devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Lord Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. So you can be detached from the materially controlled life to the spiritually controlled life, and that is only by practice and detachment. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada has given an abundant opportunity from all of us to be in that stage only by the 5S process, which is again sadhana, shraddhaya, shradachar, sangha, and shiva. If we follow these 5 stages, we are always being bound in these spiritual activities, which is again is internal energy of the Lord. So if we regularly being attached to the internal energy of the Lord, we always remain peaceful. And peaceful comes as a happiness to our life. That is how it makes us difference. The difference is people understanding of happiness is different from what we understand. So engaging the mind in the right order of spiritual advancement can only give us happiness. There is no other way. Thank you so much for explaining very nicely from beginning to the end. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you very much for your comments on all that. And also, the thing, very important thing to remember is that by default, I mean, unless we do our devotional service, the switch is automated for go down only. So we have to endeavor always the minute independence the Lord has given us. We have to utilize it and always try to uplift our situation from Uddharet, the word, as the version said, Uddharet Atmano Atmanam. That means we have to elevate ourselves by switching our devotional service, by doing sincerely our devotional service so that we can endeavor to go back to Godhead, and we always remain successful in our attempt, and that independence we have to exert. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, that's right. That text 1.2.8 says the same. The occupational activities of a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke the attraction of the message of the Supreme Person of Godhead. Whatever you do in this material life regularly, it doesn't give you any taste. After some time, you get bored of it. But if you connect to the Lord,
Yeah.
that it will always give you pleasure because He is the reservoir of Satchidananda. That's how it is. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Anybody else wants to have any comments on that? So it appears there is no other comments on that. So I'm concluding the class now.
Panchakalpatarivasya kripa
Sindhuve Patitanam Pavane Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnav Brinda ki jai. His Grace Abhay Charan Prabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to assembled devotees. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna for
Hare
your
Krishna.
nice class as usual. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.